When should you upgrade your ocarina from plastic to ceramic, single chamber to multi-chamber, alto to soprano? We've already discussed your ocarina skill level and what to do to level up, but that was to upgrade your skill as a musician and ocarinist. What about when it comes to upgrading your instrument? Remember to subscribe and let's discuss when you should get your next ocarina. Do you feel limited by the material of your ocarina? By material, I mean like plastic or ceramic. I always recommend that new ocarinists start with a plastic 12-hole like the Knight by Noble or the Bravura by Songbird. Plastic is an amazing material for new ocarinists for its durability, and there are lots of good plastic ocarinas. This makes it perfect for getting used to the ocarina because if you drop it, you're not going to damage it as well as travel. However, when it comes to tone, plastic ocarinas tend to lack the comparable quality of a good ceramic ocarina. If you've gotten comfortable playing your plastic 12-hole like the Knight by Noble, consider upgrading to a ceramic 12-hole instead. I recently reviewed the Black Rose by Focalink, but if you want something with a nicer sound, whether that's for your own preference or for performances, consider upgrading from plastic to ceramic. If you've watched my video on the 5 levels of ocarinas, this would probably be between levels 2 and 3. You should be past basic proficiency and starting to get more serious with developing your skill as an ocarinist and musician. That said, I did not get my first ceramic ocarina until I was firmly in level 3. In other words, ensure you're proficient with your plastic ocarina first, and once you're ready for an increase in sound quality, I'd recommend getting a ceramic. Just make sure you don't get a cheap, crappy, low-quality ceramic ocarina on Amazon. I have a video on brands to avoid. Just make sure you're buying from reputable brands when you purchase your ceramic. So you've upgraded to a ceramic ocarina. Maybe you went from the Knight by Noble to the Black Rose. Well, you may have found an increase in the quality of the sound of your ocarina. These are still both 12-hole Alto C ocarinas. And chances are, as you're getting more advanced, you can't play the music that you want to. 12-hole ocarinas are fairly limited in the range of an octave plus 5. You can play a lot of music on just a 12-hole ocarina. The range of a 12-hole ocarina is similar to the range of the average human voice of an octave plus 5, and very many songs just stick to that octave plus 5 natural human singing range. However, as you expand your musical repertoire, you might find that many songs do not fit into the octave plus 5 range anymore, and you need to get more range. Thus, at this point, you should get a multi-chamber ocarina. If you're looking for multi-chamber vendors, start with Stein/Focalink. They're the same company, just different names. Imperial City, they're the most cost-effective ocarina brand in my opinion. Or Songbird. Their selection is relatively limited, but they're still pretty cost-effective, and they can be even more cost-effective if you use code ANDY10 at checkout for a little discount. I'm not sponsored, they don't pay for placement in videos, I just get a little cut if you use my link. Multi-chamber ocarinas are significantly more challenging to learn and play than single chamber ocarinas. Thus, I'd recommend before you upgrade to a multi-chamber, you're quite competent and comfortable with your 12-hole ocarina. Also, if the range you need is just the G above the F on a 12-hole Alto C, you can hit that without upgrading your ocarina using an advanced technique. I have a video briefly explaining that, but advanced techniques are advanced for a reason, so you're still probably better off with a multi-chamber ocarina. That's the high G. High G, just an octave down because it's a bass, but it's a lot easier to play that high G on a triple or double ocarina. Going by my levels of ocarinas video, the time you upgrade to a multi-chamber ocarina should be right around as you're getting to level 3. You don't need to hit level 3, but you need to be on the way to it. I got my first multi-chamber when I was very close to the level 3 benchmark. I had very firmly taken the ocarina seriously as an instrument by that point, with at least 150 hours of practice under my belt. By that point of around 150 hours of really good practice back in my starting months as an ocarinist, I did feel that there was a lot of music that I wanted to play on my 12-hole that I could not. Thus, being a cheap 13-year-old, I got the least expensive triple ocarina available, which is the STL triple plastic ocarina. It's not great, but it got the job done for me to learn. But the point is, I was very comfortable with my 12-hole, and I felt limited by the music I was able to play on just a 12-hole. If you're ready to upgrade to a multi-chamber ocarina, I recommend that you get something from Focalink, Imperial City, or Songbird. Similarly to not being able to play the range that you need, maybe you need to play an ocarina in a different key. I typically recommend 12-hole Alto C ocarinas for most beginners. The instruments are small and portable, but not tiny, therefore they're easy to grip no matter how big your hands are. I'd say Alto C is considered the standard key for ocarinas, as most ocarinas are produced in Alto C, so there's a lot of great options. And it's the key that the ocarinas from Zelda are based on, so it's great for the Zelda fans who want to pick up an ocarina, which is probably most of you. However, sometimes the music that you play may call for a different key or range. Different keys have different benefits. For example, if you're comparing an alto C to a soprano C, while they may be in the same technical key, the key of C, they're in different ranges of the key of C, and those different ranges have different perks. Typically, the higher the pitch, the more bright and piercing a sound is. Therefore, soprano ocarinas may be your ideal ocarina for outdoor busking or playing in an ensemble. It'll be the most audible instrument that you have, just like how human ears are more tuned to hear higher pitch frequencies. On the other hand, instead of playing alto C, you might want bass C. Still the same technical key, just an octave lower. Bass ocarinas are typically quieter, more mellow in their sound, and they may be better for a chill, less bothersome practice session. If you live with roommates, if you live in an apartment complex, you probably want a quieter ocarina to practice on. You can use something like Mr. Mute on very many ocarinas to play more quietly, but a bass ocarina will have a mellower, less piercing sound. Maybe instead of a different range from like bass, alto, soprano in the key of C, maybe you need the key of G or another key entirely. Some songs are best played in different keys. I really like soprano G ocarinas. Just in terms of how they play, they're a nice middle ground between soprano C and alto C. They're bright, but not too bright. They're loud, but not too loud. They're bright, sweet, and a little touch of mellow. Very nice middle ground. But the point is, you might need a different key or range of ocarina for different needs, whether that's a higher, brighter ocarina like soprano C for playing in public, or a mellower, less piercing ocarina like a bass C for quieter practice or for just chiller vibes. I don't know. By the framework of level of ocarina player, I'd say this is between levels 3 and 4. Most relatively casual players do not need to worry about playing in different keys or ranges. They'll be very happy with just an alto C. Maybe a double or triple chamber alto C as well. The range that I play most is still definitely alto C, but over the last 12 years, I've had very many opportunities where I've needed a soprano or a bass or a key of G or something, just not your standard alto C ocarina. Generally, I would say that switching from an alto C to a different range requires you to have a specific purpose for that alternate range. And you typically get to the point of having that specific purpose when you're between levels 3 and 4. But sometimes you just really want an ocarina. If you have the spare cash and really want an ocarina, just get it. If you can safely afford it, what's the harm? When it comes to improving your skill as an ocarinist, I'm a big believer on getting really good at a few core ocarinas for your performances. But that is not mutually exclusive with being a collector. Even though when I practice, I only really touch 6, maybe 7 of my ocarinas with any regularity, I have a collection of well over 50 instruments. Send help. It is absolutely fine to be an ocarina collector. Collectors end up being the individuals who support ocarina makers the most, because they buy the most ocarinas. This in turn gives the more casual or focused players more and better options to choose them for their focused few instruments, for those occasional ocarina purchases, following the guidelines in this video. But if you're going down the dark path, the path of the collector, make sure any ocarinas you buy you can safely afford. There's a big difference between I have $100 in my bank account, which means I can afford an $80 ocarina, versus I'm on top of my finances, I know exactly how much discretionary spending I have, and this $80 ocarina is no problem for me. Collector or not, I do urge you to get good with what you have first. The whole premise of this video is get good with what you have, and when you find limitations, that's when you get something new. Whether it's wanting to get ceramic to upgrade from plastic, multi-chamber to play more music that you can't play on single chamber, or different ranges for specific needs, or just collecting. Practicing any instrument seriously is difficult, and you'll often run into slumps. Because ocarinas are so relatively affordable compared to other instruments, many people would rather buy a new ocarina rather than overcome the slump they have on the one that they're practicing with. Every ocarina has a unique identity. That's part of the beauty of the instrument. So sometimes you need to give the ocarinas that you already have a little bit more time and effort to reach your full potential with that individual instrument. Before buying a new ocarina, make sure you have a good reason for doing so. Are you running away from the challenge of an ocarina you already have? If so, try having a bit more patience before you make that upgrade. However, if you're going towards something that you actually need, like a more performance-ready ceramic ocarina, a multi-chamber ocarina with a wider range, or a different key for specific musical pieces, go for it. And if you're a collector with cash to burn, go crazy. Thank you to my patrons, especially my $5 tier patron Joshua, and you can support me for as little as $1 per month on patreon.com/AndyCormier. For advice in the opposite direction, I have a video on when not to buy your next ocarina. And that framework can apply to any major purchase that you have, at least in the realm of hobby space. Otherwise, leave a like, subscribe for more, comment the next ocarina that you want to get or where you fit into this video's framework, and I'll see you next time. Happy tooting.